Nigeria and Nepal are two nations that have been ravaged by corruption for decades. These are two nations where young people flooded the streets recently demanding change. Both raised their fist, both shouted the same battle cry. Yet, while Nepal's youth brought their governments to its knees, making them bend their government into concessions, Nigerian youth were left with hashtags, TikTok rants, and month-long online challenges that faded as quickly as their trend. Politicians in Nigeria even know this weakness all too well. Many openly mock the youth, boasting that their activism never leaves the phone screen. And the painful truth is, they are not lying. You look at Nepal and you are marveled as to how they turned anger into reform. But when you shift your gaze back to Nigeria, you wonder if they only turned anger into noise. In this edition of Back in History, we draw the line, stating the truth unfiltered, laying bare the facts, the figures, and the failures. Why did Nepal's strategy succeed where Nigeria's courage was crushed? Why did one movement reshape history while the other was buried in Lekki in Lagos State, Nigeria? How did Nepal fly where Nigeria has crawled for years? In September 2025, Nepal's streets caught fire. Young people erupted in anger after government abruptly banned popular social media platforms, claiming it was for, quote, national security. Imagine it. In a country where more than half the population is under 30, the state tried to silence their one trusted megaphone, social media, and the result was explosive, absolute chaos. What began as online outrage turned into a nationwide uprising against both corruption and censorship. Within days, Kathmandu and other cities swelled with crowds, university students, jobless graduates, even high schoolers. And unlike the vague chants we often hear in Nigeria, Nepal's youths had sharp, non-negotiable demands, namely, lift the ban, investigate corruption, and end elite impunity in our country. However, their government was not to be underestimated, as the state's response was brutal. Tear gas filled the air, rubber bullets cracked, and then live rounds of ammunition. At least 19 people lost their lives in the first week alone, as reported by Al Jazeera. Hundreds were injured. Yet, instead of retreating, the protest only multiplied. Here is where strategy mattered. These weren't chaotic mobs. They were coordinated. When the internet went dark, activists built offline networks, town halls, committees, handwritten leaflets. And with global media amplifying the bloodshed, the Nepali government found itself cornered. Pressure came from the streets, but also from abroad. Images of bloodied students circulated across the world. Prime Minister KP Sharma Oli's administration faced immediate political fallout, with senior officials forced out and corruption scandals dragged into the spotlight. Soon, the social media ban was lifted and investigations were promised. Nepal's Gen Z proved something simple, namely that clear demands, relentless unity, and international visibility can turn frustration into tangible change. Now, compare that to Nigeria. We have seen our own uprisings, the most famous being #EndSARS in October 2020, when the youth rose against police brutality. For weeks, young Nigerians occupied streets, waving placards, carrying meals, singing through tears. It wasn't a mere battle against a rogue police unit. It was decades of corruption, bad governance, and poverty crushing a generation's dreams. At first, it looked like history in the making. The world noticed it. The CNN, the BBC, Al Jazeera. Social media trended with #EndSARS. Drone shots captured massive crowds. The diaspora amplified the struggle from London to New York. But then came October 20, 2020, Soldiers opened fire on peaceful protesters at Lekki Toll Gate in Lagos State, Nigeria. Amnesty International confirmed at least 12 people were killed according to a report by Amnesty International published in October 2020, even though survivors insist the toll was higher. Government officials denied responsibility, dismissing it as, quote, fake news. And what did that denial do? It broke trust and broke momentum. Just like that, fear began to set in and lots of persons dispersed for their own lives. Afterwards, the government froze activist bank accounts. Leaders were harassed, arrested, or forced underground. And by June 2021, the government shut down Twitter for over 7 months, citing, again, national security. Just like Nepal, Nigeria tried to silence the youth's megaphone. But here is the difference. In Nepal, the pushback succeeded. In Nigeria, the crackdown won. Now, fast forward to August 2024, another eruption, the End Bad Governance protest. This time around, it is an outrage sparked by soaring food prices. Rice was selling above 70,000 naira per bag. And then, all of a sudden, inflation hit 34% in June 2024, the highest in 2 decades according to National Bureau of Statistics in June 2024. For youths already battered by joblessness, underemployment, insecurity, and so much more, survival had collapsed into desperation. The protest spread across Abuja, Lagos, Kano, and Port Harcourt. But again, the script was the same. Bullets were released, arrests were made, intimidation also followed. Amnesty International's bloody August report documented at least 24 confirmed lives were lost across the country, with hundreds arrested, as documented in a report by Amnesty International published in September 2024. The government doubled down, branding protesters enemies of the states. So why the difference? Why did Nepal force change while Nigeria keeps getting silenced over and over and over again? Some analysts say it is unity versus scattered rage. Nepal's demands were sharp, namely, lift the ban, investigate corruption, remove tainted officials. That was it. Nigeria's slogans, end SARS and end bad governance, end poverty, were real grievances, no doubt, but they spread too wide, making it easy for the state to sidestep and distract. It is also networks versus leaders movements. Nepalese activists coordinated offline after the ban, sustaining pressure. In Nigeria, the decentralized, leaderless nature meant one's accounts were frozen and faces targeted. Momentum automatically collapsed. Then comes global leverage versus global apathy. Nepal's diaspora lobbied abroad, turning corruption into diplomatic embarrassment. Nigeria's diaspora is vast, but global outrage after the incident in Lekki faded quickly. Once hashtags stopped trending, the government realized it could simply wait for silence. And then there is the fragile state versus entrenched states. Nepal's ruling coalition was weak, historically unstable. Nigeria's elite is entrenched, fortified by oil money and patronage networks. Transparency International ranked Nigeria 145th out of 180 countries in its 2023 Corruption Perceptions Index. Corruption here isn't a mere flaw. Corruption in Nigeria is operating almost like a complete system. Finally, fearlessness versus fear. Nepal's youths embraced gel and tear gas. Nigerian youths with stories of military dictatorship learned that dissent can mean death. After Lekki, many admitted they wouldn't return, not from apathy, but trauma. Silence then became survival. So here is it. Nigeria can learn from Nepal's victory. Strategy, not noise. Clear, measurable demands, not vague slogans. offline networks that survive even if Twitter or TikTok goes dark, diaspora support that sustains global outrage instead of letting it fade, and most importantly, turning street protest into institutions, watchdogs, and policy reforms. Both nations faced corrupt systems, but each reacted differently. Nepal channeled its anger into meaningful reform, while Nigeria has merely expressed its frustration through hashtags and social media rants. While these offline expressions can be valuable, they become problematic when they remain just that, ordinary rants on social media. Because until Nigeria combines strategy with courage, protest will keep making noise, but never history. Many thanks for watching this edition of Back in History, and do remember to subscribe to the channel or follow the page for regular notification on every new video. I am your friend and host Ekeminudim, wishing you the best of time in all you do.